another! That's Leo!
I am. Yes.
Oh, that's the collateral! Only 12 seconds. Nice for it.
And then he cleans it up with
One on. Gets a child of the way.
You join us live from one of the biggest esports events in the entire world. We're in Poland for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2017 and the finals of Season 11. And we are very pleased to be here with this amazing crowd in Katowice. We are bringing you the CROSSFIRE IEM Expo Invitational. We have some of the very best teams in the world, the best mercenaries in CROSSFIRE, representing Europe and China to be here. Between them, we have teams who've placed highly in the Global Invitational. We have teams who've represented 3 years of the World Championships. We have the runner-up from the 2015 World Championships, the runner-up from the 2016 World Championships, and we have the reigning World Champions with us here in Katowice as well. It's going to be a huge day of amazing mercenary action. There's 4 teams competing in a double elimination bracket. Great teams, great history of contests between them, and we are very, very pleased to be bringing this all to you here in Katowice. Are you ready, Katowice, for some amazing CROSSFIRE? Well then, let's not wait any longer and let's get to it. Everybody, please welcome for our first contest, it's FlipSid3 and ESC Gaming. Our first match then of the CROSSFIRE IEM Expo Invitational, FlipSid3 and ESC. Now, great big organizations, teams that we know very well in the CROSSFIRE scene. For people who don't know so much about CROSSFIRE, let's explain what we're doing here. CROSSFIRE is the biggest first-person shooter in the world. It has 650 million registered players. Last year's World Championship was watched by over 25 million unique viewers. It is a huge global tournament, and we're very pleased with ESL to be bringing it to more of a Western audience. And I imagine, let's start with you, Face. You must be very pleased that an organization as well known across Europe as FlipSid3 are part of this enormous first-person shooter. How do you feel about being here and representing FlipSid at the IEM Expo?
We are very proud to represent FlipSid. We are very motivated to give our best here.
And let's talk a little bit about ESC. You were previously Team Cursive, for anybody who was following the scene. You are the reigning competitive league champions of the UK. You've featured in big global tournaments as well before.
Well, we're very happy to be here. We're very confident in our ability, and yeah.
FlipSid are the reigning runners-up of the World Championships when we had the last World Championships over in China. You were the runners-up in an amazing final. How are you confident about your chances today, knowing that we have great European teams and the World Champions to face as well?
I mean, we can't underestimate anyone here, even though ESC is one of the teams who are not meant to win this tournament, but we won't underestimate them, and we're looking for our best.
Yeah, ESC, we didn't see you at the World Finals last December, but we know how amazing you guys are across all of sort of the European scene and the global scene. How do you feel about your chances today?
We're very confident. We have shown before that we have the skill to do it, and we think we can do it today.
Well, I think we shall keep this great crowd waiting no longer. Let's have a handshake between you guys. FlipSid3 and ESC Gaming here at the CROSSFIRE IEM Expo Invitational. We have a big day of this double elimination bracket, and we know this will be a great contest to get things started. Who is going to take the upper hand and make the way towards later's grand final? Well, let's take the first look with our brilliant caster team. We have Lee, D-Man, and Kyle, and Phil, all to work out what's going to happen in our first match of the day.
Thank you very much, Matt. Giving me a double intro, that's what I like to see. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Crossfire action back once again here at the Intel Extreme Masters. Of course, joining me is Kyle, the expert on the desk, and of course, Phil alongside him, who joined me for the finals last year in that epic matchup. Kyle, I want to go to you straight away and start talking about these teams. Let's give us a quick rundown of these teams before we get to the brackets.
Yeah, looking at these two teams, I'd say going into this one, FlipSid and ESC, FlipSid's definitely going to be the favorite of the two looking at these guys. FlipSid, I mean, they were the #2 team at CrossFire Stars. On top of that, they are the reigning national champions in Europe as well, so they definitely have a lot more experience, I'd say, compared to ESC, but I have seen ESC put up a lot of good maps, especially in the CFCL League. We saw them do really, really well against teams like FlipSid, Penta, and a lot of other strong European talents as well.
Okay, well, let's get the brackets on your screen, of course. It is a 4-team invitation. As you can see, ESC and FlipSid, they're on the stage, ready and waiting to go. Joining them later will be Super Valiant Gaming, formerly known as Vici Gaming, of course, the world champions in December. And, of course, Penta Esports. Well, Penta, we can talk a lot about them as well because they were there in 2014 and 2015. Somewhat of a surprise that FlipSid beat them 3-2 in the European finals to reach that Chinese. Phil, we covered that game. Let's talk about those briefly, because Penta, fantastic team.
Yeah.
Bit of a shock that they didn't get there in the first place.
I think, yeah, it's going back a while now. Obviously, kind of my first introduction to Crossfire was these two teams, of course, from Europe. You know, Penta, FlipSid going head-to-head. And at the time, we saw those two teams. We saw that Penta obviously had the capability to kind of push that forward and go all the way. But it just didn't happen for them. And we saw kind of FlipSid grow as a team. You know, yes, there was, I think, a couple of roster changes, but they do fantastic stuff internationally. They go across to China. They do damage there, come in second, and now they find themselves in this invitational as well, where you look at the 4 teams and they're looking probably, you know, that second favorite maybe behind that Chinese squad, of course, of Super Valiant. But I think, you know, like they said, they cannot underestimate anyone. They're going up against the ESC, who, you know, they've got to take very, very seriously here, because they can do damage. It's best of one, remember.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we should obviously mention Flex is on ESC, formerly of Penta, so he was at the 2014-2015 championship, so definitely very experienced players. For you guys at home, should probably just explain what Crossfire is. Of course, you are aware that it is straight up FPS, but you don't really know how it plays out. Well, I can tell you it was $15,000 up for grabs to team these two teams. It is Blacklist versus Global Risk, and it is going to be MR9. Now, you may be thinking that could be short, and it can be. It can be if it can turn out to be a one-sided map. There's a map pool of 5 maps. It's the standard map pool that's always been played in Crossfire. Black Widow, Mexico, Port, Ankara, and Subbase. Now, Kyle, I want to come to you on these maps because there are obviously vetoes. It is obviously a 5-map pool. Both teams will get to veto a map, and then it will be a random choice between these 3. Now, that can be quite a big deal. We saw it in China as well. We felt actually in the finals, FlipSid versus Vici Gaming, that actually the map pool kind of favored FlipSid if they could have got to those last 2, and that's just the way the map pool went. Let's talk about these two teams that are facing against each other. Obviously, FlipSid strong on a lot of maps, can veto away a map as long with ESC. What do you expect them to be vetoing away?
In terms of vetoes, I definitely expect ESC to be thinking a little bit more thoroughly about this. I'd say we'd expect them to go for more of a close quarters map. With FlipSid, you can really expect them to control those long lanes, so I think ESC is really going to try and avoid a map like Port or Black Widow, where someone like FaZe on that sniper can control the lanes. So I think Subbase would be a pick that ESC could be shooting for, just because there's a lot more close quarters action, and it's going to be more strategy based than aim duels.
And Phil, obviously, we covered FlipSid a lot over in China.
Yeah.
We know the strong points. What sort of weaknesses do you think? I mean, obviously, I guess we could look at Mexico maybe as one of their weaknesses. They didn't perform well on that.
They looked a little bit shaky, and I think Mexico was the one which I was going to point out. We saw them, you know, have their struggles, and it always just seemed kind of one strategy with that. They were kind of, you know, sticking together as a team, but if they got caught out, it wasn't one player going down, it was 2 or 3, and that was their problem, I think. And much like Kyle said, you know, if they can utilize those long sights, that FaZe being that, you know, that sniper, they can really take first picks, they can do damage, they can open gaps in the enemy's defense, and I think that's what they need to focus on. So for FlipSid, I'd be looking, like you said, maybe Black Widow. Port is obviously an option, but Mexico, I would say, is their weakness in my eyes, but I think they may be going into this super confident. They may be just going in and saying, you know what, we don't mind what map it is, we're going to take this home.
Yeah, and of course, looking towards their strengths, which, as we talked about, obviously that basically goes towards port, sub-base. They very nearly took games off. I think they went out overtime, didn't they, against Vichy in the finals. Do you see, obviously looking towards ESC, I mean, they've got to look towards these and think, okay, let's veto them out. Of course, introducing the teams to you. For FlipSide Tactics, it is, of course, Seven, FaZe, Snox, Dennis, and Creeds. Creed's the new man. Obviously, Vi's formerly of them. Now the coach, I believe he is obviously present. I don't think he's on the stage, stood behind them, but he's definitely going to be in or around that stage area. Let's talk about this to begin with. Obviously, Vi's basically the guy that has been there the longest and now is the coach. So what do we know about Creeds?
He's fairly unknown in terms of the rest of the roster, but I think he can be a really good presence. I've seen a lot of good aim from him, and I think Vi's stepping back into that coaching role gives them time for him to reflect on the team's strategies. He's always been sort of the strategic mind of the team in the past, and I think having him in that more observatory role, he can actually look and see what needs to be done, and with a new strong aim presence, I think that could make them an even stronger lineup going into this event.
And the biggest thing, obviously, what we noticed from last year in December, I'm going to keep harping back on this because obviously FlipSide, they really did put up a big performance. It was 3-0 the score in the end of the day, but it could have been 3-2. It could have gone the distance, no doubt about it. Let's talk about FaZe, because FaZe had so many big moments. Seven had some massive rounds in there as well. Snox performed throughout the tournament, and we should also mention Dennis. Dennis did very well. So there was a number of times throughout it that obviously big players had big clutch moments. What do we see from them this time around?
I think again, you're going to be looking at those star players. The likes of FaZe, we were speaking, backstage almost. Now it's kind of saying, he is one of maybe the best European players in FaZe, and I think a big part of that is the way that he plays, and I think the gaps that he can create. But as well, I think going into this as well, we've got obviously Vice stepping back. I think that's going to be probably the biggest difference. Having that as a coach, having that experience still on a team, and especially as an introducing a new player like Creeds, obviously I'm sure he's experienced in his own way, but he doesn't have that international level that the likes of Vice does, and I think that's going to be the real difference maker. But I almost don't want there to be so many clutch moments on this team. I want them to play as a team and win as a team, because when you're going down to those clutch moments and relying on those 1v2s or those special moments, it can go great, it can make those flashy plays, but it can also go very wrong.
Well, on the other side, or the flip side as you might want to say, is ESC Gaming. Of course, that's Lionclaw, Nova, Nartex, Flex, and Scorps. And obviously we've talked about Flex. Flex, the only non-Portuguese player on this team. He is a Dutch man, and as we mentioned, the man of experience on this team.
Definitely Flex is one of the main players I keep an eye on here, but also I've seen a lot online from Lionclaw. He's usually one of their entry fraggers. He gets the easy early picks, and he likes to force a lot of close quarter situation, and I think that can make a team like FlipSide pretty uncomfortable as they do try to take those longer challenges. So I think if he can sort of sneak in and be that initial entry, they could have a lot of success if they do get a close quarters map like Mexico or Subbase off the draw.
Yeah, and of course, obviously we were looking towards the map pools they were going. We were actually in the coach with them yesterday coming here, weren't we? So we kind of know what maps they're going towards, but we don't want to give too much away before they do go through that first veto. You can see a bit of a chat going on between them. They know each other well, and actually they were saying in the bus how much they've actually scrimmed against FlipSide coming into this one. Obviously FlipSide now been in China for a month. How does that leave the competition in Europe? Obviously you got Penta still in there, but does that leave a bit of a gulf and of a hole?
FlipSide and Penta being in CFPL, I think, leaves a huge gap for a team like ESC to become sort of the #1 team on the home turf, and they're really the only team that doesn't have any sort of jet lag or travel distance to come here, so they could have an advantage as sort of the only sort of home field team we've got here. But I think that could play in their favor, but like you said, all of these teams really know each other really well, and the two teams that really haven't faced off are only ESC and Super Valiant. So with all three European teams playing consistent against each other, I think we could see a lot of different and maybe unique picks coming out just to try and throw the other off.
I think as well, obviously ESC, yes, you can be dubbed the underdog, you can go in this as kind of the surprise team, but I think the likes of FlipSide, Penta, Super Valiant as well, they're going to know a lot of how each other play. And I know FlipSide have been scrimming against ESC, for example, but ESC, they may have something of a surprise. They may be able to do something that's a little bit different that they've been working on whilst the guys have been over in China doing their thing. But I think they just need to go into this knowing, you know, it is a best of one. It is MR9, and anything can happen. They said on the stage, obviously, their interview, they're confident. You know, they've proved it before, and, you know, they're confident in their own ability, and I think they should be at this stage. You know, anything can happen.
Well, we talked about this back in December, the styles of games. Obviously, you have the European style, the American style. American style didn't work out too well last time, and the Chinese style. Do you think it's a case, obviously, with them being there for a month, they maybe slipped into this Chinese style and could get caught off guard by the old European style? You know, because it was all about the fast, aggressive pace. That's what FlipSide used to be known for. Used to catch people out. A little aggression in there now and again. Obviously, when you look at Super Valiant, they like to play nice, methodical, slow play, get a pick, open things up, bam, and then just wreck them straight there and then. Do you expect ESC to just maybe go straight aggressive or something like that?
I think so, and it might even play into their advantage more because the teams in CFPL have been trying to get used to that adjustment in play style, and so coming out with an aggression against a team like FlipSide could really pay off for ESC, and I think judging by the way they play normally, it could just benefit them as a whole because, like I mentioned, they aren't a long-range team. They like to take the close battles, and they like to force very fast, aggressive plays, but it looks like we're ready to go into port here.
Yes, port straight away. Okay, didn't get the map pick come up, but it doesn't matter. We are straight into port. Let's take us through port quickly before we get things started, because it looks like we're going to take a little slow start.
Yeah, so port, it's generally a map that's going to favor the global risk side. There's so many angles to where you can just sort of draw out these attackers one by one. And so it's really going to be up to ESC to prove themselves on this first half, since it almost always leans towards the global risk side to have that early control. But I'd expect some sort of aggression towards either A, long, or B here to start things off for ESC.
Straight away, things are kicking off. We spoke about him a lot already. FaZe on that sniper, that long range of sight. Nova's going to be the first to drop, and I think that's kind of really set the tone for me. And I think that's something, you know, a bit of a mark, just saying, you know, I'm here. I'm still using the way that I'm still using that sniper the way that I do best. But it's going to be difficult here for ESC because it's how they stop that. Is it going to be Scorps, you know, going toe to toe with him with that sniper? We'll have to wait and see for that.
Well, FlipSide, like to say, well, I was about to say 1 up, but now that's going to be 3-4 done, and that's a team ace to start things off. That is a bit of a marker right there. FaZe getting himself 3 to open things up. That's kind of not good for ESC.
No, and it kind of shows that they were very easy to read in that situation as well. You had FaZe start with A, but he already rotated to B before the push head came in, so it's definitely up to ESC at this point to make themselves a little bit less easy to read right now, since FaZe seems to be all over them.
It's interesting to see here, obviously, the overhead map as well. Just kind of see the split, and again, very, very slow and methodical here. You can see FlipSide just trying to get that line of sight through the smoke, but Dennis just watching maybe the flank. Creeds, of course, covering over at B, and this is the man that we spoke about, FaZe, with that sniper in hand, trying to look down A long, but so far, no action just yet.
Kyle, I'm no expert, but it looks like FlipSide have completely changed their tactic on port, like their defensive tactic. They've totally switched things up. I was just looking, obviously they've got FaZe now on his own. Now obviously 7 and FaZe do tend to switch between who's going to be playing sniper, but they've stacked triple in the mid here, which is where 7's sitting at the moment, so they've definitely changed out their style.
I definitely think it's a great idea too, because ESC is a team that really studies how the other European rosters play, and I think throwing those curveballs at ESC is exactly what they need to do to take control of this match, and so far they're well on track to do it, and they already have the initial pick to start this off. Well,
we're already into round 2, and a kill has been made for ESC, as we do see Flex falling down once again. Mason Freeze got himself a couple. Dennis is now on the tally. That's going to be a double for Dennis, and down goes 3. That's a fall for Dennis. And he's starting off hot here. This is good stuff from FlipSide.
Yeah, just a single death so far. 7 the only man to go down for FlipSide in those 2 rounds. But it is important to note that ESC did pick up the round, so they managed to get the bomb down. It worked out well for them.
Yeah, somehow, some way, they managed to pick up that, and now it is going to be 2-0. So things looking pretty good for FlipSide.
I'm just thinking that.
And now it's just going to be up to ESC to find the answer. But Scorps, he's already looking for that pick, but still not able to connect there.
Yeah, getting that score correctly. I was a little confused by that one. I was like, man, you got a triple kill. How's that work? He gets the Deagle straight down, takes down Scorps. No problem. Nade's going to go down. That's not going to find its mark, unfortunately. But it is going to start things off. Well, FaZe gets another pick, and this is all just disaster for ESC. They can't seem to find an opening.
I'm just looking at the camera there, bottom left. You can see head in the hands straight away. That's not what you want to see from ESC. 2 have fallen now, a 3 versus 5. So far, so good for FlipSid. Snock's going to put another to bed. All down as well as 7 jumps into the action with a nice double. That's going to be FlipSid 3, ESC 0.
Nothing working for the moment. They're trying long, they're trying through mid, they're trying towards B, and just nothing is working for them at the moment. Just a single 2 frags, 1 for Nova, 1 for Flex. That's all they've managed to get themselves going at the moment. They can't seem to challenge out against FaZe. They're worried about that, and there we go. Just once again, Scorps goes down instantly. That's the bomb loose. It should get picked up, but at the moment, FaZe has his eye on it.
Yeah, and right now I think they actually kind of need to avoid FaZe. They seem to be too eager to get that pick. I think if they can try and maybe put their focus towards controlling the B tunnels earlier, they may have some success on a close quarters fight. They keep trying to challenge these longer lanes like mid and A long. And if you have FaZe menace there, it's just not going to work out. And right now, it looks like they are finally going to take that advice and go for that B play.
Well, we're going to get to see maybe Creed's in action here. He's already bagged himself 2. Can he find it any further? But again, slow pushes here coming in from ESC. And like you said, Lee, only 2 kills picked up through the whole 3 rounds so far. We're in round number 4, 90 seconds left on the clock. And again, it seems very indecisive from ESC.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether they're going to start trying to make use of connector or just anything, just try and get around. I'm just thinking of the days of when how they dealt with the old 70 kg problem when he used to sit in the exact same position of FaZes, and this may well work out for them. They try and come around, but 7 guns down, gets himself a quick double, and just like that, their attack, they thought they'd found an opening, they thought they'd found a flank, and immediately it's down to a 1v4 disaster once again.
I thought we were going to get to see Creed's in action. We still might. Oh, the flash coming in. Nova's in trouble here. He's seen Snox, and there you go. It could have been 1 over 3 there, but Snox is the one to finally pick up round number 4, and this is just dominating here. We've got 5-0 for FaZe, 2-0 for Creed, 6-1 down. There's only 3 players out of the 5 of ESC who's each found a kill.
I don't know whether this is simply the fact that FlipSid have been in China for a month, showing that how much they've grown in that time. They're actually getting fairly confident this time. They've turned it around, tried to go aggressive, and it's actually netted 2 kills for ESC. Nova looking to try and get a challenge, but he's very low on health. You can see he's having to back away, but it does net themselves as 3-on-3 situation, albeit almost a 1 cobbled together. You can see the health both low on Flex and Nova.
Yeah, very, very low there, you can see. It's going to be very difficult. Scorps obviously still alive and kicking. He's one with a sniper, yet to find anything this game, but maybe round number 5 is around that they can pull something out of the back here. You got Snox sitting back here over at A, and again, you can see the split between all 3 players. Flex still lingering around B. For me, they need to stick together because, you know, we can see how low they are on HP.
Flex trying to find any picks you can see, just trying to get that single shot off. He knows that 7's been sat there regularly. Try and peek out down long A. Scorps once again, his challenge has not worked out for him. You can see it's 0-4. He is completely losing that duel against FaZe so far, but Snox has got himself in that position, gets a little peek, gets tagged the touch. They realize that he's there and they immediately back away. So do they think that was FaZe over there? I don't think they're going to be fooled by that single AK shot. 7 getting a peek across. Nova looks for it, and again, Scorps trying to find that pick. That's what they need. They've got 53 seconds, still plenty of time on the clock.
Right now, I definitely think they need to make their move back towards B. They don't want to try and take these long challenges, and right now, it looks like they're going to go for the last-minute push here, but they definitely need to be careful as FaZe is already waiting on there, and we've seen what he can do so far already.
Coming into the action, he's going to find 1, and he knows there's going to be more. You're going to see straight away, picks up the 2nd. He knows there's the 3rd there. Scorps, the last one alive, but FaZe showing what he can do. Not only at long range, but he's getting up close and personal as well. His teammates going to back him up, and this is going to be a very difficult situation. Scorps is going to get stabbed from FaZe. Wow.
He knew exactly what, he actually threw the flashbang. He's like, I am going for the knife. Flashbang in, goes in style, and a little bit of disrespect there at the end there, just to say we are the big dogs from Europe. Remember that.
You can definitely tell they're just full of confidence right now. I mean, FaZe, he's 8-0. He hasn't even died yet. We are already halfway to a FlipSid victory.
5-0, bear that in mind. 2 has fallen. I can't believe what I'm seeing here. Creed's kicking off here. Dennis is going to find the 3rd. He's going to find number 4 as well. And just like that, the complete opposite, Nova, he's going to fall as well. I don't even know what to say about this anymore. This is just so one-sided.
I mean, ESC clearly have just thought, okay, let's try and switch it up. Let's go fast. Let's go and rush into B. But they're just running into the grinder right now.
I think they actually need to put their focus towards A now. FlipSid have done a great job of reading how they like to play, and they stack towards mid and B very early. And if they could isolate that player towards A, they may actually have a chance to put a round up on the board, but so far they're just running into a death trap here over towards mid and B.
Now we should point out that Port is a stronger map for defensive side. So I mean, while it is looking pretty bad and it's heavy for them, it is so far looking pretty strong for FlipSid and looking like they've got the dominance. But we're into a 2-on-2. Scorps got a little lucky in that kill there. And now it's just him and Nartex trying to slow things down. Loads of time on the clock here. Creed and Snox. So finally FaZe falls. His first death of the game. And that may adjust things. You can see them creeping their way in. I don't want to give that position away just in case there's anything that can be overheard, because there isn't this 2-on-2 and it's the first chance at a real round for them.
Gonna see as well. Grenade's gonna be popped as well. Whether that's a distraction, I think it may be, but again, like you said,
6 rounds in, first bomb plant.
Bomb goes down. 40 seconds on the clock here, a 2v2.
Okay, let's see how this retake works for FlipSid. Sticking together, going as a pair. You can see the clock running down, 25 seconds. Out goes the flash. Pops in, that's going to give the position away. Nartek's going to get a peep across. Scorps didn't catch a glimpse as they moved in, so they've got themselves unseen, unknown. Now they get Nartek's around the side there, that's going to be picked up. Creed pushes in, easy as you like for FlipSid. They should get the defuse through, and that will be 6-0. But the first time the ESC try and break the deadlock there and get the bomb down.
Yeah, and there it looked like a really good potential round for ESC. It just came down to Nartex in that situation. He had to hit the shot, and so far he's just not having any luck on this half, still sitting at 0 frags on the table for his team. I think if he can step it up a little bit, ESC may be able to put a few rounds on the board here, and now they're getting into a situation where they really need to get at least 1 or 2 rounds on the board here.
Well, Scorps trying to push his way through, did finally break that deadlock, as I said, managed to get that kill on FaZe. Well, they need many, many more of those. Dennis peeking around the side. Scorps finally got himself that position to get a little peekaboo through, see if he can catch the leg of anyone. Nova stacking up. So ESC using the time maybe to even just have a little talk amongst themselves to figure out exactly if they can find any picks here.
Yeah, just an update as well. It was 7-0. No, it was just behind for a few seconds there.
Yep.
However, they found themselves with 90 seconds left, and all 10 players are still alive. And this looks a little bit more calculated from the likes of ESC. This is something that I like a lot better.
Well, there they go, hitting B once again. FaZe misses the shot opening. Big chance here, but immediately Creeds comes out with a quick triple. He goes down, but the damage has been done. It's a 2-on-3. Lion is going to try and get his work. He's got to watch his back door, as you can see that FlipSid on the rotate through. Dennis has been picking them apart throughout the day. Scorps lines at 1, gets Dennis down. That's a big important frag. They're going to push his position. He misses the shot on Snox, and that may well lose them the round. It will.
Yeah, that final one you pointed out there, that's nice. That needed to connect there. Snox took advantage when we see it going 8-0. I hate to point it out. I want him to change it around, but Nartek's yet to find a frag at all.
Yeah, it's really a situation where he has to step up here, and on top of that, they really need to be hitting these trades. I mean, they're always getting 2 or 3 kills going against them on these pushes.
Oh. Well, when Snox drops down and instantly lands the headshot kill like that, you know it's working his way. Gets himself a quick second one, and Scorps the last man standing. This has been a dominant defensive side from FlipSid. 8-0, sorry. Can't be 9-0 because then the game will be over.
It very well could be shortly. However, I know we pointed out, of course, there that the defensive side was, you know, maybe a little more favoured, but it shouldn't be 8-0. It shouldn't be this way. This is fantastic for FlipSid. And you know what? From what I've seen of FlipSid, when I've been at these tournaments, I don't know whether I can judge it straight away off who they're playing, but they look like a little bit of a different team. They look just, not in game, but out of game.
They look more disciplined.
Yeah, more disciplined, more confident. They just look, even the way that they're communicating, they just look like a more structured team, if you like.
You think of FlipSid back in China, and even before against Penta in the finals. You think of, obviously, we talk about FaZe, how he was a star, but you also think of the flashy plays. Well, them flashy plays often came when he went on a bit of a roam. He went away from his disciplined position. This time, they are staying in their positions. It seems to be solid defensive holes. They're not roaming. They're not going looking for the frags, which often would happen for them.
Yeah, definitely FaZe. He's usually a lot more aggressive with his roaming and just going for those early picks, but it got into a situation where I don't think they really had to. I mean, they saw the momentum they had and they just sort of worked with it. And on the other side of things, I think ESC, they kind of beat themselves up a little too much after those early round losses. I mean, you could see it on their faces after just that 3-0 start from FlipSid. They just seemed to lose the momentum and just sort of give up on themselves. I think they really just need to regroup for the second half. And like I said, it is a global risk-sided map, but 9-0 is it's an uphill battle for them for sure.
Okay, well, can this be... it's going to have to be a bit of a miracle for them to turn this around, but let's hope ESC can put something on the board here. Scorps looking down the scopes, but he's not going to find anything. No one in his line of sight. Nova may run into trouble, though. And this is where he needs to go big. We've saw the likes of Dennis, we've seen the likes of Snox, even Creeds as well, doing it in this position. Can Nova replicate that?
Well, we should point out one round, this is over as well. FlipSid will be going through to the winner bracket final. Can they 10-0 their first game? What a statement that will be. Penta drew the short straw. They got the draw against Super Valiant. Snox comes in. Nova gets himself one, but he's flashed out. Can't take down Creeds. And you can see another one going down. Scorps is very low as well. Nartex pushes in, but there's a chance on the retake here. They're going to get in. The bomb made its way through. Plant goes down, catches them off guard. Nartex manages to get one, 7 down. So now we're down to a 2-on-2 on the retake. But you can see Dennis and FaZe have got themselves set up perfectly for this one, Phil.
Yeah, they have indeed, and they're going to be able to sit back, just wear this time down, and it's going to be difficult. I like the way that FaZe is just kind of overwatching his teammate there as Dennis, but coming up right from behind. He's going to see grenades tossed out, but one to his left. He's going to be caught off, and now a 2v1 for Nartex. Nartex has been flashed, and FaZe finds the second. And that is going to be FlipSid taking it away, and what fashion we've just seen there.
I felt like he was expecting his teammate to go to the left side. They were flanking left and right and expecting that corner to be checked already by his teammate, which is why he was just looking high. But either way, a 10-0 start. That puts a marker down to the rest of the teams in this tournament. A dominant form from FlipSid. And I think we're seeing just how much experience they've gained from that single month in China.
Yeah, they've definitely shown us that they are one of the strongest teams in Europe, if not the strongest team right now. I think Penta can definitely challenge them a little bit more than that. At least I'd hope so after that. But it's definitely a situation now where ESC, if they want any hopes of bringing this back, they're really going to have to study what happened to them there and come back swinging.
I think it's going to be very, very difficult. I mean, it's stating the obvious, but ESC, it's not just losing, your first game. I know it's a best of one. That for them to do anything now, to come back from such a devastating loss, it's going to be the composure level that's going to take is going to be incredible. And the fact that there's the likes of Super Valiant in there as well. Penta, there's no kind of team that you think they can push their way into this, but I hope they bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, we should point out we've been harping on about the fact they've been playing in China. They are playing in the CROSSFIRE Pro League over there, and it's going to be going on for the next 3 months as well, I believe. So they're going to be spending quite a bit of time over there, along with Penta as well. Let's get over to the stage, though. It's the man of the moment with Matt.
Thank you very much, guys. What an incredible first match. Not something we perhaps, I don't think anybody really expected to go down that quickly. So congratulations, FaZe. That's FlipSid Tactics making a real statement here at the CROSSFIRE IEM Expo Invitational. 10-0 in your first game. That couldn't really have gone any better.
Yeah, true. Everything went out like we planned it. Our GR side was just good, and that's why we won.
As our casters were saying, you're now based in China because you and Penta, who we're going to be seeing in our next match, you and Penta are the first ever non-Chinese teams to compete in the Chinese Pro League. So has that experience of moving to China changed how you play?
Yeah, it's going well so far. We practice every day very hard, but it's really hard to compete against the Chinese teams because their level is like really higher than the European level or like the level from the other versions. But we'll try to give our best there.
Your CT side on port has not been your strongest side to play on a map historically, but that was very, very different. So your tactics have you've clearly had a look and changed some things.
Yeah, that's true. On port, we were never good on the CT side, but our BL side was always good. But since we switched our players, our chair side improved, and we proved it today.
Well, that is one step towards our grand final later on. We'll be seeing you in our winners brackets. I feel like we might be seeing a rematch of the World Championship at some point today. Congratulations, FaZe. Congratulations, FlipSide Tactics. That's our first match down. We'll bring you our next game in the CROSSFIRE IEM Expo Invitational very soon. But let's go back over to our casters for a little bit more talk about that.
Yeah, interesting immediately what he said there, and we wondered about it. And we did mention that the positions had changed around a bit. So clearly, obviously saying that Creed's coming in has adjusted the positions of the team, which can often happen. And seemingly for the better there, it seems to have opened up quite a bit of play for them.
Yeah, for me, the one thing I noticed was Creed's actual role. We pointed out, especially, you know, he was just hanging back, watching B, and he was doing that on his own for the most part, you know, and that kind of enabled the rest of his squad to, you know, whether it's push up, you know, through mid or just hold.
They were
A
triple stacking mid, weren't they? Quite often.
Yeah. And I think it was round one. You actually said this is not the flip side that we saw. We saw them being aggressive. We saw them catching teams off guard, and I think it is just a more disciplined team. So, you know, there's changing not only players, but also the play style, where they're located. They've had a lot of change in their, you know, their whole kind of team in a short period of time, which clearly has benefited them.
And we should talk about the roles, Carl. Obviously, we're talking about leaving Creeds. I mean, this is a new guy that's come into it. Obviously, a very talented player to get into FlipSide in the first place that they picked up. But the fact that they have the confidence to leave him on his own, you know, to make that call to say they're hitting my site when you're the guy on your own is a big deal, because you've got 5 guys coming against 1 there.
Yeah, and I think it's actually a really good decision for FlipSide to have brought him in. In the past, they seemed like a team that was more hunting for the frags and then just holding on to numbers, and having that sort of anchor in place now is really going to solidify their defense in almost every single map and give everybody else a little bit more ability to play for themselves as well. And I think just having him as that defensive presence is really going to up their game going into their next matches as well.
Yeah, and obviously FaZe, we were talking about how his disciplines definitely worked. We just heard from him there how confident he's feeling, and it seems to have just bled across the whole team. They were talking about how jet-lagged they are coming into this one, but it doesn't affect them too much coming into this first game.
I think as well that's experience. You know,
yeah.
we saw them over, you know, in China, and you know they performed well. They came second. Obviously, they're getting used to that. You know, they're professional players. They do this internationally on a regular basis, and now they're over there playing against the best of the best. I think there's only one thing that, you know, that's gone down that's beneficial for them. I don't see any negatives. Yeah, a bit of jet lag, but these guys know what it's all about.
They certainly do. Let's check the brackets out. Of course, you can see that it does mean that FlipSide will move through to the winner bracket final. ESC will drop down, and they'll be facing the loser of Super Valiant or Penta. Either team you certainly wouldn't want to face in the lower bracket to fight for your tournament lives.
Yeah, that's a very difficult game, but there's 4 teams here. You know, each of those 3 other teams are very, very talented in their own way, and we said it going into this, ESC were that, you know, that underdog, the one that could maybe surprise a team, but you know, no surprises kind of came out. You know, if anything, it was a bit of a surprise that they got 10-0'd, but it's looking very tough for them. Any ESC fan out there is not looking good.
The main thing for me that I felt, certainly for FlipSide's point of view, that ESC they tried to switch it up. They weren't just playing the same old way over and over again. They tried to go fast, they tried to go slow, they tried to look for picks. Nothing worked for them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think it just came down to pure aim, really. In every situation, even when they had an advantage, it was immediately taken back from them, from a 2K or 3K, from FaZe or Creeds, just holding their positions very well. And I think by the time they got into the second half, they had already just checked out at that point and just could not bring it back on the defense.
Yeah, well, fantastic stuff so far. So, Game 2 is going to be coming up in just a few moments, of course. It's going to be Super Valiant up against Penta. They have to set themselves up on stage. So, while, of course, we wait for them to set up on stage, you guys at home can go take yourselves a bit of an early breakfast, maybe, or a little cup of tea. But anyway, guys, we'll see you after the break.